Hey, what is good, guys and girls? My name is Chris, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about personal finance and budgeting. This is something that I really wanted to kind of cover on this channel, and it's going to be a real kind of focus moving forward. And I really wanted in today's video to kind of share with you how I manage my money, why it's important to manage your money, and kind of just the process and tips and tricks that I've kind of learned over the last couple of years to essentially manage my money as best as I can. I am definitely not perfect, but I have a little bit of a process and a couple of things that seem to work for me that mean I'm able to kind of invest and save a larger percentage of my income, but I'm also able to kind of spend money on things that bring joy to me and kind of things that I want to spend my money on. So if that is something you're interested in, then stick around to today's video. So why bother budgeting? Well, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and really ask yourself an honest question. And that question is, do I know where my money goes? Do I know what I spend my money on? And these are the basic questions that I think a lot of us forget to ask ourselves. Because, like many, we have our income, our salary that comes in, and by the end of the month, we look at where all that money has gone and don't really realize where or what we spent that money on. And that's why it's important to have a budget. It doesn't need to be all spreadsheets and formulas and pie charts and graphs. It just needs to be something that works for you, something that allows you to understand what you've got coming in and what you've got coming out. And that's why budgeting can be so personal to so many different people. And that's why they call it personal finance. So today I'm going to really break down what I do to manage my money, how I try to optimize it, and actually just live my life without worrying about every penny that I'm spending or saving or investing, and just being safe in the knowledge that I have a rough idea and a good top line understanding of where I spend my money. So, like a lot of you out there, I have my salary paid into one current account, and that is paid in monthly. I get paid once a month. That money drops into my account. I kind of have like a bit of a routine or a kind of like a money date, if you were. And I just know that on the day that that money is coming into my account, or even the day before, sometimes if I'm super organized, I kind of just write down where I need to kind of focus my money. And there's some things that go without saying that I know that I'm going to have to pay for in the next month. So I'm fortunate enough to own my own house, so I pay kind of a mortgage. So what I do at the beginning of each and every kind of month in terms of when I get paid, I know that I've got to put a certain percentage of my income into our joint account where our kind of mortgage is paid from and things like our bills, for example. And we also actually put in the money that we're going to spend for food, for example, in that account. So I know that every month that I'm going to be putting a certain amount into my joint account that's to pay for those kind of things that I mentioned. And that actually equates to out of my whole salary about 43% of my income, which is fairly substantial. It's a healthy chunk, but obviously it covers all things like utilities and bills, water, gas, etc. Mortgage, which is my biggest expense, and then obviously things like food, which is obviously a substantial amount per month, particularly with the prices going up and everything. And then the rest of my budget kind of really focuses on three main things. Really is around investing and savings, and then also kind of discretionary spend and how I want to spend the rest of my income. So what I then do is I transfer 6% of my income into my investments, and that is through Trading 212. So I normally transfer about 6% of my income into my Trading 212 account, keeping it really simple. I'm just investing into index funds, keeping it really kind of consistent and straightforward, even with everything going on in the world at the moment in terms of the market declining, etc. I'm just being super consistent. And my next kind of thing that I really focus on is savings. And for me, saving has been something that's really important to me. I genuinely class for myself as like a saver. I enjoy saving. Growing up, I used to love just counting my money and saving, and I really genuinely enjoy saving my money. And so I focus on that. So I save a fairly substantial amount, about 17% of my income each month goes towards savings. And that can be towards a whole host of things. Some things it's to save for larger investments. It can be for things that I'm wanting to buy, holiday or something like that. Just always kind of focusing on what I can save for and something I really kind of enjoy and really focus on each and every month. Then my next biggest expense is transport. So I am fortunate enough to work from home most of the time, but there are a couple of days a week that I'm now heading into the office. And that means spending a little bit of money on transport. I normally go into the office about twice a week, which means I have to pay for train fares. It's a fairly big expense at 12%. And then a couple of things that are really small in terms of percentages, but really worth mentioning are things like phone bill at 2%, subscriptions like Now TV and Spotify, for example, at 2%. Then my car insurance is another one at 2% as well. And then I also like to record things like miscellaneous spend, where we all, every month, as much as we can plan and really dial down into what we're going to be spending for the month, things naturally will pop up and just come out of the blue that potentially expenses that you have to pay for. So I normally leave a small amount of budget, about 3% of my monthly salary, just for things like that. And if I don't spend it, then great. I just kind of leave it in the account and just let it occur and kind of save it for next month. And then I also, as a kind of precautionary measure, leave a bit of budget, a little bit of money just in the account, just in case a bill comes out that I didn't expect, or something random like that. It never does happen, but there's always a thing in the back of my mind that if I just have a little bit of a contingency in the account, then I'll make sure that I'm all good. And so that's normally about 3 or 4%, just something to kind of tick over in the account. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention is around discretionary spend. Now, this is something I've really had to get better at over the last couple of years. As I mentioned, I love saving and I don't really enjoy spending money. And actually, what I've learned over the last couple of years, and something that kind of I've learned reading a book called "I'll Teach You to Be Rich," which I'll link down in the description below, because I think is a general personal finance book. It's really healthy and really good to read. And this one actually helped me understand the importance of actually spending money, particularly spending money on things that you enjoy. I was always focusing on saving and investing, and was thinking I can never spend any of my money. If I invest more, it'll compound more and I'll make more and I'll be able to retire earlier. But actually, there's a lot of value in actually just spending your money on things that provide you value. So that's what I made sure to do, is really kind of make sure that I purposely have a set amount of money each month. So in order to do that, I do transfer a certain percent. So this is around about 10% of my income goes into a separate current account. So at the moment, I'm using Chase as my second current account, that I essentially have a pot in there that I'm like, right, I can spend this on whatever I want. I don't have to justify it to myself. I don't have to reason with myself. I don't have to feel guilty if I spend that money. I just spend that money on things that I want to, and spend money on things that bring me enjoyment. That, in a nutshell, is what I do in terms of every month sit down and how I kind of manage my finances. Okay, so I hope that's really helpful, insightful, and I really enjoy these videos to really understand how people spend their money, what they spend it on, and kind of how they kind of manage their personal finance. I wanted to end the video with a couple of just tips and things that I do that really help me keep to this process. And one thing that I'm always thinking about is making sure I pay myself first. As I mentioned, saving and investing for me are still the priorities. So when I kind of sit down and have this money day, or I make sure that I move my money into different accounts, etc., that I do those things first, that I tick them off the list, that I transfer the money over to my Trading 212 account, that I transfer the money into my savings account, or set up automated direct debits. That means that money is coming straight out of my account and I almost don't see it. The other point that I really wanted to make is do what works for you. There's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of best practices or ways that you can manage your money, but just do what works for you. I think one thing that I've learned over the last kind of couple of years, really focusing on my personal finance, is that you don't have to do something just because someone else is saying to do it. And what I mean by that is there's, as I mentioned, a lot of kind of ways you can do automated reports, personal finance dashboards to track all your finances and really get down to the single penny, and every little penny is counted for. And actually, sometimes that can just be too much. We all have busy lives. We all have different things we need to think about and priorities. And sometimes just being able to do what works for you, whether that is sitting down for 20 minutes and writing down on your notes on your phone what you're going to spend your money on the next month, what you've got coming out, and having a rough idea of what you need to make sure that you spend your money on and things that are going to come out in the next month is all it sometimes needs to be. I think there's this pressure to get it really refined in a well-oiled machine and system, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily work. And it definitely beats not doing anything at all, not thinking about it at all, and just spending a little bit of time doing what works for you is better than doing absolutely nothing at all, or even worse, thinking you've got to do this process or system or dashboard, starting it, realizing it not working for you, and then just scrapping it and going back to not thinking about it, not looking at it at all. So that is how I spend my money, and a couple of tips there for you. Hopefully that's been insightful. Hopefully that's been enjoyable. I'm really wanting to do a little bit more around personal finance and kind of ways to invest your money and savings, etc. So if that is something interests you, then let me know down in the comment section. I really do appreciate it. And if you don't mind dropping a like, that also helps out a small channel like mine massively. And if you've made it to this far in the video, then I appreciate you very, very much. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care. Bye.